In recent hours, Russian authorities have reported that their air defense forces shot down 93 Ukrainian UAV unmanned aerial vehicles in a widespread nighttime operation, spanning multiple Russian regions and approaching the Moscow area. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the drones were intercepted over 11 southwestern and central oblasts. Among the downed units, 38 UAV were destroyed over Bryansk Oblast, 19 over Moscow Oblasting, including 16 believed to have been heading toward Moscow itself, 11 over Kaluga, 8 over Chila, 5 each over Oryol and Nizhny Novgorod, 3 over the Black Sea, 2 over Kursk, and 1 each over Belgorod and Ryazan. The Defense Ministry stated the operation took place during the night of 19-20 July, and that some drones were destroyed relatively far from the border, including near Moscow. The National Air Transport Agency, Rosaviatsia, announced temporary flight restrictions at airports in Kaluga, Yaroslavl, Nizhny Novgorod, and at all 4 Moscow airports Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo, Zhukovsky, and Vnukovo for safety reasons. Russian officials claim there were no significant casualties or major infrastructure damage reported so far. Ukraine has not publicly confirmed full details of the mission, including its scale, launch points, or the number of drones that penetrated defenses. However, analysts point to patterns in previous drone operations that provide insight into how such raids might be planned and executed. These patterns include extensive use of intelligence gathering, decoy drones, multi-vector launches, and exploiting radar blind spots. Experts say the success of a large-scale UAV operation depends heavily on several factors: logistics, operator skill, the quality of drone speed, low radar signature, timing night or bad weather, and the ability to synchronize launches from multiple sectors. In past operations, Ukraine has used smaller, quieter FPV first-person view drones to approach targets closely, often at low altitudes to avoid early detection, paired with decoys and wave tactics i.e. launching multiple drones in succession or groups. These methods overload or confuse Russian air defenses. One source on UAV tactics notes that Ukrainian units utilize both reconnaissance and strike drones. Reconnaissance units locate or confirm high-value targets, such as command infrastructure, fuel depots, airfields, and then strike drones deliver explosive payloads. Frequently, these drones are manufactured, modified, or assembled in forward positions, with staging areas relatively close to the front or in neutral zones, to minimize travel time and energy usage. Night operations help conceal movements and reduce exposure to counter-drone patrols. Another key component is electronic warfare. Disruption or jamming of radar, misdirection, and possibly spoofing of signals can degrade early warning systems, forcing air defense units to respond reactively rather than proactively. Observers believe Ukraine has improved its capacity to conceal launches, optimize flight routes to avoid radar coverage, and use swarm or wave tactics to stretch Russian air defenses thin. On the Russian side, defense systems include layered radars surfaced, where missile ASIM systems, anti-aircraft guns, and mobile firing units. Russian forces reportedly responded by tracking UAV over multiple regions, targeting them in flight using SAM or anti-drone guns, and sometimes triggering flight suspensions at airports to reduce risk from falling debris. In terms of strategic objectives, the use of drones in this scale serves multiple purposes. First, it tests or probes Russian air defenses, identifying weak points, forcing repositioning and gauging response times. Second, even failed incursions impose costs, diverted resources, alert fatigue, disruption of civilian life, and economic effects: airport closures, logistics delays. Third, It exerts psychological pressure signaling reach and capacity to strike near or into Russia's interior, especially around Moscow. Fourth, it can serve as retaliation or deterrence when Ukraine seeks to respond to Russian attacks. Eyewitness reports and media coverage suggest that civilian areas were put on alert. Flight operations were disrupted at several airports. Local authorities urged residents near potential drone impact zones to stay indoors. However, according to Russian sources, no large-scale destruction or high death toll has been reported. From a logistical perspective, launching dozens of drones, or even many more than those intercepted, requires supply of components, fuel or batteries, maintenance, launch platforms, operators, communication equipment, and intelligence. For stealth, many launches are nocturnal, under cover of darkness, sometimes using decoy drones first to draw radar or defense responses, then sending heavier, more capable units. Novelties like AI or improved guidance may also play a role, according to some recent analyses. In assessing this specific incident, experts will likely try to answer: how many drones were launched vs how many intercepted? What proportion were strike vs reconnaissance or decoys? What altitude and routes they took? How close they got to intended targets? How much damage was actually done vs reported? And what intelligence enabled the operation? Over time, repeated large drone operations allow both sides to learn and adapt to Ukraine refining attack tactics, Russian defenses adjusting detection thresholds, radar coverage, and countermeasures. International reactions are mixed. Some in the diplomatic community caution that drone attacks deep inside Russian territory risk escalation. Others see them as part of an asymmetric warfare strategy where Ukraine uses what resources it has to maximum effect. Observers often compare the increasing drone use with historical precedents of artillery and bomber raids, though UAV provide more agility, lower risk to personnel, and potentially lower cost. In conclusion, while Russia claims it shot down all 93 drones in this latest incursion, the scale of the operation, if as described, marks another step in Ukraine's ongoing drone campaign. Whether or not Ukraine achieved all its objectives, the operation demonstrates growing operational sophistication, complex logistics, layered deception, improved UAV technology, and willingness to strike near Moscow. For Russia, the challenge becomes maintaining robust air defenses, adapting to evolving tactics, and balancing civil-military priorities when responding to incursions. The outcome of this latest episode will likely shape both sides' approaches in upcoming conflicts, from training to procurement to strategic planning.